Alright, so
Full
I live
screen!
in the Appalachian Mountains, and if you've heard anything about them, it's probably this.
Search area has expanded as the days stretch into a full week.
Wait, let me
The youngster was
turn it up.
reported missing.
If you hear something in the woods, no you didn't.
No, you didn't. Keep walking. You do not want to be outside when the sun goes down.
Something very strange
Gulp.
seems to be going on inside of national parks.
Lately I've seen these videos all over
Oh my
social
god.
media talking about
I'm getting flashbacks to fucking Fears to Fathom!
the long history of people vanishing on the Appalachian Trail and in the mountain range that it's named after, and what might be causing those disappearances. Secret National Park Service projects, feral cannibal people, Bigfoot, skinwalkers.
Skinwalkers!
For a long time by these creatures.
They're called devil monkeys.
Bigfoot is from the Pacific Northwest.
I'm
and
sorry. I'm not a person that believes in like the supernatural stuff, so when I see someone talking about like an evil monkey so seriously as a ghost, I just laugh.
They're called devil monkeys.
Bigfoot is from the
They're called devil monkeys.
Pacific
Sorry.
Northwest, and skinwalkers are from the Southwest, but that's beside the point. These mountains have a rich history of folklore, and it can be really interesting to get into that, but these videos can often disrespect the people who have gone missing in these mountains and the
Hi,
people
Zai.
who live in them.
Details their experience with the mountain people.
Feral, rumored to be cannibalistic men that lived in East Tennessee in the woods.
Generations of people
Men is scarier than a fucking
have
ghost.
like, grown up living in these like
Ghosts in the woods? Yeah, no fucking problem. Men in the woods? Oh shit, I'm
So
scared.
naturally, I started reading, trying to figure out why people go missing in my backyard, and what makes these mountains feel so strange and eerie. The science and history that I found along the way is frankly more interesting than any conspiracy theory, but it also completely changed the way that I see
Hey,
these
they'll do the same
mountains.
shit, Maddie.
I was both more aware of the dangers lurking in them, but also of their
If you bring up the man
beauty,
versus
what
the
sets them
bear.
apart from any
My
other
bad.
mountain range on Earth.
Don't let Twitter know about what I'm saying. Sorry. Don't tell
Most
Twitter.
people think of the Appalachians as this area in the south, but they actually extend all the way up to this tiny island off the coast of Newfoundland called Belle Isle. You've probably heard
Newfoundland.
these mountains
The
are some of the
dog.
oldest on Earth. They started forming about 500 million with a B years ago. That's pre-Pangea, pre-dinosaur. Fish had like just appeared. It
What
started
the
out
fuck?
with one tectonic plate sliding under another, forming massive stratovolcanoes, but those mountains were eventually eroded down into basically just gravel. Then 400 million years ago, those same two plates slammed back into each other, this time forming huge, jagged peaks. And then about 290 million years ago, Africa slammed into North America, shoving these mountains inland, rolling and folding them over each
Looks so
other,
cool though.
exposing rock hundreds of millions of years old to form one of the most geologically complex mountain ranges on Earth. Since then, wind, water, and ice have carved these mountains into what they are today. And
It's so sad that our world is like this beautiful and amazing, and we have just chosen not to live alongside it, but overruling it.
do so. Like, let's start with wind. Just look at Mount Washington in New Hampshire, one of the coldest and windiest places on Earth. The weather station at the top has recorded a 28-foot snowpack, negative 47 degree Fahrenheit temperatures, and a
What the
negative
fuck?
108 degree Fahrenheit wind chill.
Wait,
Just a
I need to go back. What?
and they continue to do
How
so.
cold?
Let's start with wind. Just look at Mount Washington in New Hampshire, one of the coldest and windiest places on
Holy
Earth.
shit.
The weather station at the top has recorded a 28-foot snowpack, negative 47
Oh,
degree
shit.
Fahrenheit temperatures, and a negative 108 degree Fahrenheit wind chill just a few months ago. At least 130 people have died on this mountain, and it's such a tough
Oh my
climb that it's
God.
used to train for Denali and even Everest. Needless to say, I think the weather out here gets a bit more intense than people give it credit for. Next,
That looks cozy,
water.
but I know it'd be
The Southern
miserable as
Appalachian
fuck.
Mountains contain the rainiest places in the U.S. outside of the Pacific Northwest, as much as like 230 centimeters in some areas. Heavy rains have
Oh,
caused
this looks so
massive
nice.
floods that cascaded through the mountains, carving deep gorges. It
Twilight.
also allowed for the growth of a lush temperate
Hi, Reeves.
rainforest containing thousands of species.
If I had to pick one place in America to live, it would be in Portland and in
Found
Washington.
nowhere else on Earth. And finally, ice. About 10,000 years ago, the northern Appalachians were buried under massive glaciers. As the glaciers advanced, plants and animals native to the north migrated south to escape extinction. When the glaciers retreated and the climate warmed, those species moved to higher elevations, looking for the colder conditions they were used to. A lot of species ended up stuck on mountaintops with no way of migrating elsewhere, evolving into a web of species found only here and some only on individual summits. Now you go up to the mountaintops here in the south and you'll find a landscape that feels a lot more like Canada.
You used to go camping with a caravan and tent combo? That brings up so many memories that you're showing me that. Oh my god, someone is spamming the fucking door. Sorry. You're bringing up so many memories by posting that. Holy shit. We went camping in one of these like one time. We had one, but it was like a big circle in the middle, and then it had like 8 little rooms on each side, so it was like a big floor kind of. But I think we only ever did it one time. We did it one time, and I made like a best friend when I was out on this trip, but we were so far away, I don't think I ever saw them again. I had like one person that I met there that I would hang out with like all day, every day, over my family. And I remember it so well, and then I never saw them ever again. The separate rooms, yeah.
These are often described as biological islands.
Has an independence movement? Really?
During the Ice Age.
That's crazy. I hope they succeed.
Habitat for huge groups of bison and elk, packs of wolves.
We need a new independence movement in Scotland. The elections are grim.
Lions and lynx, and flocks of birds like passenger pigeons, which were likely the most numerous bird on Earth, traveling in flocks numbering in the billions. And what's cool is that the ecology is wildly inconsistent. At the far north, you would find an Arctic tundra complete with caribou, Arctic foxes, polar bears, and
I love
this guy,
Arctic
the great
foxes.
auk, basically a penguin. These mountains were also home to people, a diverse quilt of hundreds of indigenous cultures living in the valleys for thousands of years. The landscapes of the Appalachians are some of the most complex and biodiverse on Earth. And with that complexity comes...
Could anyone even live here?
Upset the balance just a bit.
Probably not.
Things fall apart quickly. European settlers first arrived here in the late 1400s, but these mountains provided a huge barrier to expansion, and for the first couple centuries, they didn't even try crossing over them. The first people to inhabit the higher elevations were actually indigenous groups, pushed out of the valleys by settlers and the diseases they brought, and forced to take refuge in the mountains. But in the
people live in worse places like the UK.
1700s, the East Coast started getting crowded, and settlers started to move inland, once again pushing indigenous groups out and into the plains to the west. The first explorers to cross the mountains describe an infinitely complex landscape of steep slopes choked with dense vegetation and days of darkness under the canopy above. Even Daniel Boone, who's
not mentally,
like
just in the UK,
explorer guy, described the slopes as, quote, so wild and horrid that it is impossible to behold them without terror. When these settlers first arrived, the mountains were almost entirely covered by old-growth forest, containing trees over 8 feet wide and 260 feet tall. But in the 1800s, a timber industry exploded in the Appalachians, harvesting just about all of these forests. Logging companies scooped up huge amounts of land, getting absolutely loaded while paying people next to nothing to move into the mountains and clear that land. These loggers worked long hours exposed to the elements, surviving on rations and packed in large groups into temporary shelters. And as the industry grew, railroads and burns to clear the land caused wildfires that engulfed thousands of square miles of forest. This forest around me is one of the only old-growth forests left in the entire Appalachian mountain range, and one of the only places on this side of the country where you can come and find just like a really big old
you don't really get
like
massive
Pretty
trees
much all
anymore.
Of the area surrounding this forest was clear-cut, but the logging companies cutting it down went bankrupt before they could get to this spot at the bottom of the valley. And then a few years later, a wildfire blew through and knocked out a bunch of land, but also missed this spot. So out of pretty much sheer luck, we have this really cool little area where you can come and get kind of a glimpse into what most of this forest would have looked like a couple hundred years ago. Logging, mining, and damming in the mountains drove many species to extinction, including the passenger pigeon
The
and great
pigeon!
hawk, and drove many others out of the region. Bison, salmon, elk, caribou, and polar bears, just to name a few. Big predators like bears and lynx had it particularly bad because people kind of just didn't like them and hunted them down for the hell of it. Industry, of course, came with pollution.
I think people who hunt for fun like that, I think it's... I don't like it. Fair enough if you're doing it to like survive and you're gonna like actually use the animal. But trophy hunting is fucked, yeah, I agree. If you're just doing it for fun, I think there's something wrong in reveling, killing something.
The waterways and even the air.
Like,
at higher
like
elevation,
that.
There's often this beautiful fog, but it's wildly acidic from sulfur and nitrogen emissions. Acid rain, fog, and snow have been a huge problem here, weakening the higher elevation ecosystems and cutting plant growth in half in some areas. European settlement also brought invasive parasites. All over the Appalachians, you'll see these ghost forests, skeletons of entire tree species wiped out by parasites.
No. No!
Just decades after they got huge, the logging and mining industries collapsed, leaving behind a ruined landscape and a population without work, forced to survive off of this steep, rocky terrain that wasn't really any good for farming. With no money and no good roads, these communities were pretty much trapped in the mountains. That isolation led to the development of a unique culture and folklore unlike anything else in the country. Combine that with the way that these mountains and their inhabitants have often been portrayed in movies, TV, and other media, and the cultural image of the Appalachians kind of starts to take shape.
Shit, you can tell it's old.
Vibe here. Like, we know that the mountains are old, but you can also just feel it. The boulders, the twisted trees, the fog, it can be a bit eerie. It's honestly not that surprising that people think this is a creepy place where weird stuff just happens all the time. But I
feel like if you're just out here all alone though, your brain's gonna fucking trick you into thinking like shit's happening when it's not. I think that's what most people think ghosts are. It's just brain playing tricks on you.
With a unique, and I'll be the first to admit, sometimes quite off-putting culture and centuries of folklore. But that doesn't mean there are cannibals or skinwalkers hiding in the caves, kidnapping unsuspecting hikers. The Appalachians have this reputation as spooky,
no
haunted,
monsters,
but they also have a reputation as kind of the wimpy mountains on the other side of the country. But honestly, my biggest takeaway from making this video has been that these mountains are a lot more intense than people give them credit for. Sure, they're not as big as the Rockies or the Cascades, but this terrain is steep and overgrown, difficult to navigate.
I would hate driving there. That looks scary.
Really fast. You're probably familiar with the Appalachian Trail, which runs through a big stretch of these mountains. The AT is about 450 miles shorter than the Pacific Crest Trail out west, but it typically takes people a few weeks longer to complete. This terrain is just deceptively challenging to navigate. It was 400 years ago, and it still is today. It's easy to get lost or injured.
That's crazy. That's a crazy view, though, no?
Dense forest and steep terrain make it difficult for search parties to cover ground, and nearly impossible for planes or helicopters to spot someone beneath the canopy.
Yeah, that's fucked.
Sure, these mountains aren't as large as others, but that doesn't mean they aren't just as dangerous.
Cause like, good luck getting a helicopter in here. That's fucked, eh?
Just as this landscape continues to present plenty of threats and hazards today, it continues to face plenty of threats and hazards of its own. Mountaintop removal for mining has literally blown thousands of square miles of mountains to pieces. Fracking for natural gas here contaminates groundwater and rivers, and climate change is causing ecosystems to migrate to higher elevations, which isn't great for the ones that are already stuck on the tops of mountains, like the biological islands we talked about earlier.
Fracking, yeah.
But
I don't know nothing about it. I just know it's big bad, not good.
Have actually been
only people benefit from it. Millionaires, billionaires.
More carefully regulated. Many of the species that went with it have been returning too. Moose, bald eagles, bears. Hell yeah, who doesn't like bears? And other species have been deliberately reintroduced, like elk, many of which were imported from Wyoming. Honestly, the more I learn about these mountains, the more I appreciate them. As the home to some of the rarest and most biodiverse ecosystems on Earth, as one of the planet's longest running projects, and as just a really beautiful place.